Hello and welcome to a new Ukraine war update. A lot has happened, including a Ukrainian precision strike targeting a North Korean general, so I'll keep it brief this time. Please make sure to leave a like and comment to support me. The full video, as always, is available on my Telegram channel. Here 2 FPV drones reportedly collided with each other in the Kursk region. It is hard to know who is who here, but given the outcome, it hardly matters since both were lost after the encounter. A lone Russian BMP-2, carrying infantry on top, charges across open terrain in the Kursk region. It is en route to assault a Ukrainian position in a tree line. The vehicle halts in front of the tree line and the infantry disembarks. They continue their advance on foot through the open while firing towards the Ukrainian positions. What the Russians don't realize is that a Ukrainian Javelin anti-tank team has already locked onto the BMP, which is now preparing to head back to its own lines to pick up more infantry. The Ukrainians launched the $80,000 missile at the moving target, striking it just a few meters from the spot where they dropped off the soldiers. This video from end of October 2024 shows a Russian Alligator helicopter shooting down a Ukrainian drone using an nucler anti-air missile. The video later showed the reported Ukrainian PD-2 drone crashing to the ground. This helmet cam footage captures a Ukrainian soldier armed with an M249 light machine gun, equipped with an EO-tech sight, ambushing Russian soldiers as they exited an apartment building in the city of Toresk. The Ukrainian soldier from the Leopard Special Police Brigade opened fire from relatively close range on the unsuspecting Russians, who had no opportunity to return fire. This Ukrainian Leopard 2A4 tank showed that it is very capable of fulfilling its purpose even on the modern-day battlefield by ambushing a large Russian armored column in the Kursk sector. The exact sequence of the battle leaves much room for debate due to the many rapid cuts in the footage, making it difficult to determine what happened and in what order. However, one thing can be said with certainty. This battle vividly illustrates the clash between the key strength of the Leopard 2 and one of the major weaknesses of the T-72 plus what happens when they meet in combat. After taking several hits from the Leopard, the crew of the lead T-72 attempted to turn the vehicle to escape the kill zone, which exposed their vulnerable side armor to the Leopard. As a result, the tank was hit and penetrated. The issue here was the poor reverse speed of the T-72, especially when compared to tanks like the Leopard 2. Additionally, the Russian armor was on the offensive, which put them at a disadvantage, as they encountered the Leopard in one of the scenarios it was specifically designed for, defense, and particularly the delay. So it's no surprise that a single well-positioned Leopard 2 was able not only to delay and disrupt the column but also to completely fend off the assault, resulting in significant vehicle losses for the Russians. A good example that when deployed under the right conditions, tanks are far from obsolete. However, for transparency, I must mention that Russia also released footage from the same area showing at least one Leopard 2 tank being struck by Lancet drones. The tank appeared to have already been abandoned, but it's unclear what caused this. It could have been an FPV drone, but we cannot say for certain. However, it seems the tank withstood the hit quite well. What do you think? This Russian soldier, who had taken shelter in a crater, can be considered extremely lucky, as an FPV drone landed directly on him but failed to explode. Realizing his luck, the soldier quickly left the crater to move out of the potential blast radius, as the drone could still detonate later. His fate afterward, however, remains unknown. This soldier threw a canister containing a missile from his pickup truck when the missile suddenly misfired and launched uncontrollably, nearly hitting him. It's unclear if this footage is recent, but it was definitely filmed in winter. According to the Wall Street Journal, a North Korean general was recently wounded in a Ukrainian strike in Kursk. Based on this, the Moscow Times reported, a North Korean general was wounded in a Ukrainian missile strike on southwestern Russia's Kursk region, the Wall Street Journal reported Thursday, citing anonymous Western officials. Ukraine on Wednesday fired at least 10 UK-supplied Storm Shadow missiles at the Marino estate, a site located around 32 kilometers from the front lines in the Kursk region, Western and Ukrainian officials said. The estate reportedly housed a Russian army command post and a communications hub, with North Korean generals allegedly present during the attack, according to Ukrainian media. These news reports were published after Ukraine released this drone video, which is said to show the Storm Shadow strikes in Marino on November 20, 2024. A total of 9 impacts can be seen. Russia's military confirmed that British-supplied Storm Shadow missiles were used in the attack. Meanwhile, local territorial defense forces in the Kursk region reported that a total of 12 missiles targeted the Marino estate. The identity of the North Korean general was not disclosed. However, Ukrainian and South Korean officials previously stated that Pyongyang had sent Colonel General Kim Yong-bok to oversee North Korea's coordination with Russia. The attack comes after outgoing US President Joe Biden granted permission for Ukrainian strikes within Russia using American-supplied ATACMS missiles. In response to this development, Russia revised its nuclear doctrine, lowering the threshold for a nuclear strike in response to a broader range of conventional attacks. Alongside this, a nuclear-capable ballistic missile was launched toward the city of Dnipro, as seen in the footage here. There are conflicting reports on whether the missile was an ICBM or an IRBM. When questioned about the attack, Russian Foreign Ministry spokesperson Maria Zakharova was caught on a hot mic taking a phone call during which she was instructed not to comment on the ballistic missiles that struck Dnipro.
Да. Алло. Да, у меня брифинг.
Я занимался удар баллистическими ракетами, о чем Запад не стали говорить, не комментирую вообще.
Да, хорошо, спасибо.
Biden's decision to allow Ukrainian strikes into Russia stems from several reasons. First, it is a direct response to the deployment of North Korean troops to the conflict. Second, it significantly complicates any potential deal between Trump and Putin. Third, it provides much-needed relief to heavily pressured Ukrainian forces as Russia continues to make advances, particularly on the Eastern Front. Russian forces have also made advances in Kupiansk and Kursk. Ukraine's biggest challenge at the moment is a critical shortage of manpower, particularly in the east. Many units are understrength and unable to hold their positions against the advancing Russian forces. This has forced Ukrainian troops to abandon their positions, sometimes even without engaging in combat. This does not mean that Ukraine is not putting up any resistance in the east. In fact, while positions sometimes have to be given up without a fight, there are still numerous instances of heavy fighting, and Russia continues to take significant losses. The difference is that Russia can sustain these losses more effectively than Ukraine and has greater financial resources to make enlisting in its ranks appealing, despite all the Western sanctions. These graphs here even indicate that, for example, October 2024 was the most devastating month for the Russian armed forces since the start of the war. In terms of equipment alone, at least 489 vehicles were lost. In terms of manpower, it has been reported that Russia lost an average of 1,500 soldiers daily in October 2024. Western analysts estimate that the total number of Russian casualties has surpassed 700,000 so far. Additionally, many observers, such as German analyst Carlo Mazzola, now believe that Ukraine's casualty numbers are similarly high. If you've watched this far, I want to say thank you. If you enjoy my work and want to support me, please consider leaving a like and a comment. It really helps me out with the YouTube algorithm. In today's attention economy, I need your support to avoid having my efforts buried under sensationalized fake news content farms that manipulate the system with bots. Thank you for your time and support. Here, this Russian MTLB reportedly crushed a car donated to Russian soldiers under its tracks as a punishment because the soldiers were allegedly using the vehicle to regularly leave the front line. This prompted the unit's commander to decide that it would be best to make an example by simply running over the car with the armored tractor. Of course, this story cannot be verified, but it does have a certain logic to it. By destroying the vehicle, the commander would be sending a clear message to the troops about the consequences of misusing resources meant for combat duties. Not to mention the unauthorized abandonment of the front line, although the situation here does sound a bit strange. Here we have Russian helmet cam footage from one of the many mechanized assaults on Ukrainian positions, a perspective we typically only see through observer drones. The soldiers disembarked from their armored vehicle in front of a tree line and advance under fire. Many viewers and bots often comment that I only show Ukrainian footage without actually watching the entire video. Let me clarify this once and for all. As you can see, I also share Russian footage. However, the reality is that people rarely watch it. My statistics clearly show which parts of a video are viewed the most, and the sections featuring Russian footage consistently receive the least attention. So, these Russian trolls complain without even bothering to watch the video. In this helmet cam video, a Russian soldier on an ATV captured the moment a Russian MTLB was disabled, likely by an FPV drone. While a mine could also be a possibility, the vehicle's tracks appeared to be intact, which makes an FPV drone or another anti-tank weapon more likely in my opinion. The two crew members were unharmed. They disembarked from the still moving but disabled vehicle and jumped onto the back of the ATV, which quickly left the area. The urgency of the ATV driver also suggests the presence of drones actively targeting Russian troops in the area. MTLBs are only very lightly armored, and there have been many occasions where they continued moving even after being hit and disabled, like in this case, where an MTLB simply kept driving in circles. This Russian armored vehicle, equipped with makeshift turtle armor, had such limited visibility that it drove directly into a Ukrainian-constructed anti-tank ditch on the Pokrovsk front. With its belly now exposed, the crashed vehicle became a target for FPV drone practice by Ukrainian drone pilots, who successfully struck it several times. And since I only show Ukrainian footage, here we have a similar event, this time involving a Ukrainian Bradley stuck in a Russian anti-tank ditch. This is interesting footage of another Bradley after it was damaged in combat. Take a close look at its cannon. This group of Russian soldiers was observed by a Ukrainian drone as they stood next to a burning Ukrainian house, which they had reportedly set on fire. In retaliation, the Ukrainian forces targeted the group with an explosive drop from the drone. I cannot share this here, but the full video is available on my Telegram channel. You can find the link in the description. These Russians on an armored vehicle were targeted by a Ukrainian FPV drone, which they desperately tried to shoot down. In a last-ditch effort, a Russian soldier threw his rifle at the drone just seconds before it could impact. His bold move paid off, and the drone exploded without causing any damage. However, a second FPV drone was pursuing them, and this time it appears to have struck the vehicle, forcing the soldiers to abandon their transport and leap into the unknown. I think we're all familiar with the sight of a termite drone or dragon's breath drone raining fire down on a Russian-occupied tree line. However, this footage shows one devastating a bunker by bouncing around inside from left to right, turning the defensive structure into a fiery inferno reminiscent of the bunker scene from the opening of Saving Private Ryan. This Russian BMP drove directly over a mine east of Pogrebki in Russia's Kursk region. As a result of the detonation, the vehicle flipped over. This Russian FPV drone was pursuing a Ukrainian armored personnel carrier in Kursk. Its hunt for the armored personnel carrier was abruptly interrupted when a Russian Lancet drone unexpectedly crashed into the Ukrainian vehicle before the FPV drone could make its move. However, it seems the Ukrainian armor kept rolling after the hit. This Ukrainian tank was also targeted by a Russian Lancet drone while conducting a direct fire mission in the Donetsk region. However, the Lancet failed to penetrate the tank, which then had to turn around due to the poor reverse speed of T-series tanks. It seemed to be its lucky day, as it narrowly avoided an artillery shell that landed very close just afterwards. This is footage of a Ukrainian soldier shooting down a Russian cruise missile using a man-portable anti-air missile launcher. And here we see a female Ukrainian soldier shooting down another Russian cruise missile with an nucler launcher. The backstory of this soldier is quite interesting. Her name is Natalia, and before the war, she worked as a kindergarten teacher. This was her first combat launch and her first direct hit. The following clips of intense Ukrainian anti-air fire at night highlight the severity of Russia's strategic air campaign against Ukraine, targeting critical infrastructure and various civilian sites. In this footage, we see Ukrainian tracer fire attempting to intercept Russian drones over Odessa. Ukraine has demonstrated significant effectiveness in intercepting Russian long-range drones, especially Shahed 136 and 137 drones. Between April 2023 and August 2024, Ukrainian forces maintained an average interception rate of approximately 86% for these drones. Notably, May 2024 saw the highest interception rate at 97%, while February 2024 recorded the lowest at 77%. This according to the Institute for Science and International Security. Shahed drones are slow-moving and produce a distinctive noise, making them easier to detect and target. Also, Ukraine has improved its radar and sensor networks and developed specialized mobile fire groups to counter drone threats. However, Russia has continuously increased the frequency and intensity of these drone attacks, often coordinating them with missile strikes. In these cases, the drones are used to oversaturate Ukrainian air defenses. To counter this, Ukraine employs a combination of anti-air missiles, systems like the Leopard, and other anti-aircraft guns. The increasing intensity of these attacks was also reported to be one of the reasons behind the previously mentioned American authorization for long-range strikes into Russia. I forgot to mention this earlier, but remembered it again while watching these clips. Previously, Ukraine's only means of retaliation were domestically produced long-range drones and small propeller planes converted into drones for strikes inside Russia. Similar to Russia's slow long-range drones, the interception rate of these Ukrainian strike drones is high, as evidenced by the numerous videos that surface almost daily. However, from time to time, these drones do hit their targets, producing images like these, which are highly useful in the informational domain. Nevertheless, these strikes lack a saturating effect and, with a few notable exceptions, such as strikes on ammunition depots, are generally of low strategic value. How it looks like if a Shahed drone hits a target is shown here. However, this one crashed over Russia into a Russian building. The cause is unclear, It could be a malfunction, jamming, or incorrect target coordinates.